1 in 8 people worldwide lives with a mental disorder. These conditions don't just affect how you feel. They change how you see the world, turning ordinary signals into distortion, noise, or threat. These conditions aren't character flaws or phases. Here is a look inside 6 misunderstood conditions, how they work, and what they actually feel like. Specific phobia. Worldwide, specific phobias affect an estimated 7 to 10% of the global population. They are diagnosed more frequently in women, often beginning in childhood. While many people have mild fears, a clinical specific phobia is a paralyzing anxiety disorder. It isn't just a strong dislike, it is an overwhelming, immediate biological alarm response. In the brain, the fear center, the amygdala, misinterprets a specific object as a lethal threat. It effectively overrides the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain that usually says, "You are safe." As a result, your internal system goes into immediate survival mode. You see a spider, face a needle, or look over a steep drop, and your body reacts instantly. Your heart pounds, your breathing becomes shallow, and an intense urge to escape takes over. In everyday life, this fear forces you to shrink your world. You purposefully avoid places, cancel plans, or endure exhausting distress if you can't escape. Many people don't understand this sudden panic. They say, "It's just a dog," or "Just face your fear." But they don't realize your brain has already triggered the fight-or-flight response at maximum intensity. It isn't a conscious choice, it is a hardwired biological reflex hijacking your nervous system. It feels like standing on the edge of a crumbling cliff, even when you are safely on solid ground. Insomnia disorder. Worldwide, about 10% of adults experience chronic insomnia disorder. It occurs much more often in women and older adults, acting as a massive driver of healthcare costs and lost productivity. Insomnia disorder isn't just having a bad night's sleep because of a late coffee. It is an inability to power down your central nervous system. In the brain, the wakefulness system remains hyperactive. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline remain elevated in your bloodstream when they should be dropping. The biological switch that seamlessly transitions the brain from awake to asleep is firmly jammed. As a result, your body feels deeply exhausted, but your mind is completely wired. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, actively watching the hours pass. Your thoughts race, often looping endlessly around the intense anxiety of not being able to sleep. In everyday life, this chronic lack of rest drains your physical resilience. Your memory blurs, focus shatters, and emotional reactions become incredibly difficult to regulate. Days and nights bleed into one continuous cycle of exhaustion. To cope, you might develop rigid nighttime rituals, obsessively tracking sleep data, or strictly avoiding anything stimulating. Many people see this as a bad habit. They say, "Just put your phone away," or "Try chamomile tea." But they don't realize your internal engine is locked in high gear and the key is missing. It feels like trying to brake a speeding car only to press down and find the pedal has been disconnected. Somatic Symptom Disorder. Worldwide, an estimated 5 to 7% of the general population is affected by somatic symptom disorder. Diagnosed slightly more often in women, it places a significant burden on the medical system as those affected undergo countless unnecessary tests. Somatic symptom disorder doesn't mean you are faking it. It means your brain is aggressively amplifying normal bodily sensations into severe physical distress. In the brain, the neural network responsible for processing sensory inputs and assigning threat levels is highly reactive. Normal bodily functions like digestion or a minor muscle twitch are incorrectly evaluated as critical, life-threatening emergencies. Your body feels the pain completely. You feel a sharp ache in your chest, and the internal alarm goes off. Your thoughts immediately spiral toward the absolute worst-case scenario. This is a heart attack. This is something terminal. In everyday life, you obsessively scan your body for anomalies. You frequently visit doctors, desperately looking for answers. When medical test results come back perfectly clear, the relief is only temporary. The pain is physically there, and terrifying uncertainty quickly returns. Many people don't understand this exhausting loop. They see the negative test results and say, it's all in your head, or you're just a hypochondriac. But they don't realize the pain signals your brain generates are entirely real to your nervous system. It feels like your body's smoke detector is blaring at full volume, but you are the only person in the room who can hear it. Autism Spectrum Disorder. Worldwide, about 1 to 2% of the population is on the autism spectrum, diagnosed more frequently in boys. Signs in girls are often masked and recognized later. It is a lifelong neurodevelopmental condition. Autism isn't a broken system. It is a completely different neurological operating system. In the brain, differences in how neural networks connect alter how sensory information is filtered and how social communication is processed. The world hits you with unfiltered intensity. You walk into a room and you don't just see the environment. You hear the hum of lights, feel the specific texture of your shirt, and absorb multiple conversations at the same volume. In everyday life, social interactions don't run on autopilot. You must manually decode facial expressions, tone, and unwritten rules. To survive, you might mask, consciously mimicking neurotypical behavior to fit in. This requires a massive amount of cognitive energy. When sensory or social input becomes too much, you experience overload, leading to meltdowns or a deep need to withdraw. If you are a child navigating a traditional school, loud, chaotic classrooms can turn every day into an overwhelming sensory minefield. And for the parent standing beside you, that often means profound emotional burnout. A constant, exhausting fight to advocate for a world the system fails to accommodate. But inside the autistic experience, the exhaustion runs even deeper. Many people don't understand it. They say, "You don't look autistic," or "just make eye contact." What they don't realize is that you are manually processing what their brains do automatically. It feels like translating a foreign language in real time, every second of the day, while everyone else speaks it natively. Depersonalization, Derealization disorder. Worldwide, about 1 to 2% of the population meets the criteria for this disorder. It usually begins in late adolescence or early adulthood, triggered by severe stress, emotional trauma, or substance use. Depersonalization and derealization aren't just fleeting moments of zoning out. They are the brain's extreme defense mechanisms against psychological overload. In the brain, there is a sudden disconnect between the sensory cortex, taking in the physical world, and the limbic system, attaching emotional meaning to it. The nervous system dampens your emotional response to protect you from shattering under stress. As a result, your perception of reality fractures. You look down at your hands, they don't feel like they belong to you. You look in the mirror and see a stranger. Or you walk down your own street and everything looks two-dimensional, like a movie set. In everyday life, you function on autopilot. You hold conversations and go to work, but you feel completely hollow inside. The world is happening around you, but you aren't tethered to it. Many people don't understand this terrifying numbness. You look normal from the outside, so they say, "You seem fine," or "just ground yourself." But they don't realize your emotional anchor has been severed. It feels like watching your own life play out on a screen, sitting alone in the back row of a dark theater. Narcissistic Personality Disorder. Worldwide, an estimated 1 to 5% of the population is affected by this condition. Diagnosed significantly more often in men, it causes profound difficulties in relationships and professional environments. Narcissistic personality disorder isn't just extreme vanity. It is a severely fragile sense of self-worth, requiring constant external validation to survive. In the brain, neural networks associated with emotional empathy and self-regulation show altered connectivity. The foundational scaffolding of self-esteem is completely missing. As a result, your internal system is entirely dependent on how others view you. You constantly scan the room to assess your status. To feel secure, you absolutely need admiration and a distinct sense of superiority. In everyday life, you project unshakable confidence to hide the terrifying void inside. But your ego is hypersensitive. Even minor criticism feels like a devastating, existential attack. To protect yourself, your body reacts with intense defense mechanisms. You lash out aggressively, devalue the other person, or completely withdraw. Relationships become highly transactional, based entirely on what the other person can do to bolster your self-image. You struggle to genuinely feel what others are experiencing, making deep connections almost impossible. Many people only see the arrogance and lack of empathy. They say, "You're so self-obsessed," or "You don't care about anyone but yourself." But they don't realize your grandiosity is a desperate survival strategy. It feels like trying to keep a balloon inflated with a slow leak. If you stop blowing air into it for a second, nothing is left inside. These disorders aren't choices or attitudes. They are deep structural changes in how the brain navigates the world. Recognizing these internal systems is the first step understanding them.